6, right here where that started. Over the edge just a bit on either side. Because we can adjust that from side to side, and because rolls may be wrapped on the cardboard slightly different, if every one of my bales I dropped out and that was always over on this side and missing over there, I'll just loosen that up and then cheat the roll over a little bit. So we can center the roll based on what we see dropping out of the back side here. When these are new, they've got paint on the inside of them, and that really does create a lot of drag. As that's sitting there spinning, there's a lot of resistance there. So even though the density setting is not very high from the factory, we want it that way on purpose till we break the baler in a little bit, because of how much friction is against the sidewall with that paint, it'll kind of be falsified. Now as that shines up and completely polishes it, at some point in time there'll be no paint on the inside. And so it's much slicker then. We'll start cranking that density up to compensate for that. But again, density is kind of a personal preference and how much horsepower you've got. After that, we can go ahead and crank it up a little bit more. After 100, I don't really care. You can do whatever you want. If you want the bales as heavy as possible, just max it out. I don't believe this valve will take this baler much past the yellow. We've got some balers that will go into the red. Red isn't necessarily a bad thing. All red means is it's gonna take a lot more horsepower, and your chains are gonna run hotter. You want to oil them a little bit more often if you're gonna run up in the red. The bearings, the chains, everything have been designed on our balers. Whatever we allow the valve to do to maximum, that baler can handle that from a bearing capacity standpoint, from a chain load standpoint. You just need to be concerned about horsepower and making sure the chains are oiled. I take these and I try to get them as wide as possible and locked out, because turning tight, you never want to get them into a PTO shaft. Here in south, where there's a lot of Bermuda grass, in the summertime again when that stuff is really hot and brittle, people will kind of plug the front end of the baler up. These balers aren't too bad. We've done some major changes in the last 6 years to the design. Historically, we would always slow the baler down. If the belts were traveling at a slower speed, it had less of a tendency to do that.